The Marriage Inspector by Niall Boyce. He's coming up the driveway. He's definitely coming up the driveway. Can't hear you. Tom, I said he's coming up the driveway. Jen, wait a moment. That really annoys me. What? When you tell me to wait a moment. What? Jen closed the curtains on the dark February evening and backed away warily from the living room window to the doorway of the kitchen. Tom, she said, we're about to have a visitor. Behind her she heard the clatter and bang as her husband graciously shoved the half leg of lamb back into the oven. She remembered when he'd first cooked for her, how deft and confident he'd seemed in the kitchen. These days he thumped around the place like the henchman in a Frankenstein movie. You invited someone? He exclaimed. No? Well, then who is it? And why are you acting all weird? Jen answered the two questions in one go. I think it's the marriage inspector. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'd heard a couple of them were in the neighbourhood, and you didn't tell me. I didn't think to. Tom pushed past her on his way out of the kitchen. Hey, what was that for? I'm going to turn off the lights, Tom said over his shoulder. If he thinks we're out, we might just get away with knock. It. Knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Coming! Jen was startled by the change in Tom's voice. Yes, it was all an act, but she hadn't heard him sound even artificially cheerful since, well, her mind shied away from the thought, like a horse refusing a jump, since a very, very long time ago. She rushed to join Tom in the hallway. The inspector was already across the threshold and shrugging off his mackintosh. He was a short man with a pencil moustache and horn-rimmed glasses. Good to meet you, Mr. Castle, he said to her husband. And this is a Mrs. Castle? He looked directly at Tom as he spoke, but it seemed to Jen that his eyes were also scoping out their house, darting around, independently of one another. Yes, that's right, she chirped. You must be the marriage inspector. Correct. What might I call you? Inspector. Inspector what? Don't pester him, dear, said Tom. The inspector raised his eyebrows, took a notebook out of his waistcoat pocket and made a mark with a stubby pencil. Oh, forgive me, said Jen. It's something we find funny. I always want to know more about people. When I get my teeth into something, I don't let go easily. Ha ha. Jen cringed. Tom had literally just said, ha ha, and not even attempted a fake laugh. Ha ha, continued Tom. Yes, when Jen's teeth are in, she just locks her jaw and waits for her prey to die. Ha ha. A profound silence. And then, I'll be joining you for dinner, muttered the inspector. Assuming you have enough for three. Oh, yes, yes. Tom headed for the kitchen. A half leg of lamb, plenty of it, in fact, it's almost ready. If you wait in the living room with Jen, I'll serve the starter. If you don't mind, said the inspector, I'll have a quick tour of the house first. There's not a lot to see, Jen replied. And she caught a glimpse of Tom's face over the inspector's shoulder. Yes, no problem. No problem at all. She led the inspector upstairs. He started with the bathroom. According to the records, he said, as he noted the position of the toilet seat, you've been married for 5 years, am I correct? Yes, said Jen, but it seems longer. I'll see your spare bedroom now. In the spare bedroom, the inspector took great interest in the sofa bed. He took the cushions off, unfolded it, sat down on the thin mattress. What are you looking for? Asked Jen. Signs that this has recently been slept in. Oh, this old thing hasn't been used in a long time. The big sofa downstairs is far more comfortable. What are you saying? With every sentence she spoke, she felt like she was trying to defuse a bomb and cutting the wrong wire. Then again, that was how she felt around Tom most of the time these days. And the thought genuinely occurred to her for the first time, might this be the way he felt around her? How long have you been a marriage inspector? She said, interrupting herself to change the subject. We've never had a visit before. A while, the inspector replied. Talking to this man was like serving tennis balls to an opponent who never knocked one back. I see. How interesting. Main bedroom next? Mr. and Mrs. Castle, the inspector dabbed at his lips with his napkin. They'd only just finished the starter, and he'd already put away 3/4 of a bottle of Merlot. It had loosened him up to the point that he spoke without prompting. Thank you. That was very appetising. But I can't help but notice... Notice what? Jen and Tom asked simultaneously. Notice that there is a certain lack of romantic ambience. The lights have not been dimmed. I suppose this is because if they were, you wouldn't be able to see the food. This table, he tapped it, no candles. Well, it's not Valentine's Day. Oh, look, I'm sure we've got some candles somewhere, perhaps in the kitchen. Oh, look. Tom got up. Do you remember, Tom? Said Jen as he retreated to the kitchen. Years ago, we used to light a candle with dinner every night. The inspector took out his notebook and scribbled in it. From the kitchen came the noise of Tom rooting around in the everything cupboard. It sounded as if he was trying to dig a tunnel. If he was, Jen couldn't blame him. A few minutes later, he re-emerged with a steaming casserole dish and balanced on top of it a tea light and a box of matches. Jen, sweetheart, he said, setting everything down, would you like the candle? I'll dish up. The matches were damp. Jen tried a couple of times before Tom took them from her with a sigh, duly noted by the inspector, and failed to get one to light. Just get the food on that plate, Tom, Jen snapped. It's getting cold. Again the notebook. Again the raised eyebrow. And you, she said, turning to the inspector. I've heard the rumours, but now you're sitting at our table and eating our food, you can give us a straight answer. Where does all of this go? Who sees your report? What happens to us if our marriage doesn't meet your exacting standards? I can't answer the first two questions, said the inspector, but as for the third, something horrible. Something really horrible happens when you fail an inspection. He permitted himself a smile, and it was not a pleasant smile. And now, how about some of this lamb? Later, all Tom would say was that a story had flashed through his head. A short story about a woman who murdered her husband with a frozen leg of lamb and then cooked and ate the murder weapon. Of course, a half leg of lamb doesn't have the same heft as a full leg and is a lot softer cooked than it is frozen, making the business of clubbing a man to death with it much more difficult. But Tom decided to have a go regardless. And in any case, Jen was by his side in an instant and finished off the inspector with a Le Creuset casserole dish. It had been a wedding present. When's the next bin collection? Asked Jen. Green or black, said Tom as they carried the body through to the backyard. Black, I suppose. Tomorrow. Do you think dead bodies go into black bins? I'd have thought of them more as green bin material. Yes, but the green bags are a little small and they tear easily. If we get him in a black bin bag, hopefully they'll just pop him in the compactor, take him to landfill, and no one will be any the wiser. Smart thinking. Thank you, said Jen, and felt a little warm glow inside her. For some reason, compliments from Tom meant much more than those from other people. And when, especially when, she knew he was just being nice. Only I'm not so sure it's smart, she mused. I mean, there was a lot of blood back there in the living room. Not that I'm complaining, we need a new carpet anyway, but I think there's still a good amount left in him. Won't the bin bag get all mushy in the bin lorry? Won't they get suspicious? Yeah, good point. Well, we can wrap him in plastic now and drop him in a lake later. Which one? The one up by the woods and the monument, where we used to go for walks. Yeah, we can take a moonlit stroll afterwards. Yes, romantic. Wait! Jen froze. What was that? That was the snick of the latch opening on the gate, the one that led to the little alley outside. A moment later, a figure dressed in the same style of mackintosh as the late inspector, but taller and tougher looking by far, stepped into the backyard. Aha! You did it! You killed him! Tom dropped his half of the body and stepped forward into the light that shone from the kitchen window. It's my fault, he said. I murdered your colleague, and I forced my wife to help me dispose of the body. The new inspector brushed his hand through his stubble and turned to Jen. You, the wife, he said softly. Is this true? Jen didn't hesitate. It's not true. She let go of the body and took Tom's hand. It was a little slippery and she had to hold tight. We both did it. Together. The new inspector exhaled loudly. Good. Very good. What? Very good. You, Miss Tomcastle, tried to cover for your wife, and you, Jen, you weren't having any of it. Going down together like Bonnie and Clyde, Thelma and Louise. I like it. I like it a lot. He leant down and, in a manner clearly learned from a health and safety course, grabbed hold of the dead body and hoisted it effortlessly over his shoulder. Well, I'll get rid of this for you. Wouldn't want you putting a bin lorry out of commission or polluting a lake. And Jen stammered, what about us? The man waved his hand dismissively. Oh, you're fine. You passed the inspection. You got a clean sheet. Well, I'll be seeing you. Have a good Valentine's Day. And he turned to go. Well, one last thing, said Jen. I was wondering. She glanced into Tom's eyes and saw that he had the same question. We were wondering, what would have happened if we'd failed? The man paused and adjusted the weight of the body. In that case, he said wearily, you'd have been put to work. A chill shuddered through Jen. Forced labour? As what? The man sighed and twisted the worn gold band on his finger. Marriage inspectors.